Have you ever wondered why some creators are able to work with massive brands and charge significantly more than the vast majority of other creators? And here's the kicker, even if they're equally or even less skilled than you. So last week I did a video answering the question of should you hire a photography agent? And to be honest, most creatives think that's the only way to get the big budgets and work with their dream clients. And while it can be true that having an agent is helpful, it's by no means necessary and not the only way to land these 5-figure deals, especially once you know how to approach it. So if I were to guess, you're probably watching this video because you already have the skills necessary to be able to work with these big brands and charge the big budgets. You're just missing that last little piece of the puzzle that allows you to propel into the big leagues so you can start charging the $10, $15, even $30,000 for a single job without the client even batting an eye. And ultimately, that's what we're covering in this video. So just to clarify, at this level, creators aren't getting jobs because they have better gear. You can just go rent stuff. It's not because they have more experience or more followers. In some cases, that does help, but in most cases, it's not the deciding factor. So let me let you in on a little secret. It's actually because they know how to position themselves and sell their offer. So if you want to learn how to scale your content business, work with dream clients, and charge the rates you actually deserve to get paid, guess what? You have to learn those skills too. So just in case you don't know who I am, my name is Nash. I'm a resort and brand photographer. I've worked with brands like Westin, Hyatt, Four Seasons, Marriott, and many other brands as well. A lot of them landing in those 5-figure or multiple 5-figure budget ranges. So I have a lot of experience with this. Also, I post weekly YouTube videos just sharing tips and tricks from my experience for commercial photographers, covering all kinds of different topics. So if you're interested in this kind of stuff, definitely go ahead and check out the rest of the channel. Or if you want to work with me personally, I actually have a link in the description below so you can chat with a member of my team. He'll show you our entire process and you can see if it's a fit to work together so I can help you scale. But without any further ado, let's go ahead and jump into the video. So like I alluded to before, there's actually a few different factors that lead to being able to charge these high rates. The first one being how you position and offer yourself. The second one is how you sell yourself. But before we even get into that, there's actually one that's even more important, and that is who you talk to. So to be honest, most creatives approach this as I'm going to start small, I'm going to work with the local businesses and then kind of work my way up eventually, which is great and fine and everything. But to be honest, most local businesses are not going to have the budget to be able to pay you $10,000 for a project, right? Local restaurants, local retailers, they're not going to have that kind of budget. Maybe if you go to a lawyer or a construction company or architect or something like that, yes, then maybe they won't. To be honest, I don't really want to work in that industry. If you do, that's fine. Or if you want to work with local businesses, completely fine, but just understand that they probably don't have that $10,000 plus budget. So that leads us to only one option. Well, we have to work with bigger companies because the bigger companies have the bigger budget. So let me let you in on another little secret. Most big companies, not all, but most actually don't have in-house creative teams and they don't even hire freelancers themselves. What they actually do is hire out agencies who take care of all the campaign work for them. Now, there's different types of agencies. There's like agencies that specialize in marketing stuff, SEO, paid ads. There's creative agencies. There's ones that specialize in just PR, right? There's all kinds of different agencies. And just to clarify, this is different than you as a photographer hiring an agent that represents you. This is actually agencies that handle companies' campaigns. So it's a little bit different. Just want to clarify that. But at any given point, depending on the size of the company, they could have as many as 10 or even more agencies on their payroll that specialize in certain different things. So in order to give yourself the best chance to actually work with these bigger brands that have the bigger budgets, well, you have to start networking with the agencies. So then that brings up the question, well, how do you network with the agencies? Well, just like there's different agencies for different aspects of the marketing realm, there's also different agencies depending on the niche of the company. Now, the bigger agencies might represent all kinds of different companies, but there's a lot of boutique agencies that specialize in just hospitality or just restaurants or just food and beverage companies or just outdoor adventure companies or whatever it might be, right? So there's also agencies that specialize in certain niches, so you can start to find the ones that fit what you like to shoot. So then how do you find who to actually talk to? Well, you go to networking events, you do some cold outreach, either calling them up or sending an email or a DM or whatever it might be. You could get referrals either from a company that you've worked with, or if you've worked with other agencies in the past, they could refer you if they have like a friend or a colleague that works at another agency. Or this is my favorite way. If you go on an agency website, look at their client list and see a company that you'd actually like to work with, you can actually reach out to the marketing director at that company. And a lot of times they'll refer you to the agency, which is good for a few ways. Number one, you get the contact. Number two, it's a warm referral because it's from somebody they actually know, which means they're more likely to actually open your email. Now, it's one thing to know who to talk to, but it's another thing to even be able to get on their radar. So like I talked about, you have different boutique agencies or just agencies in general that specialize in different types of brands. So you want to make sure that your portfolio, before you even reach out, before you do anything, is optimized for that type of agency. So this is an issue I see a lot with creators is you'll go on their website and they have weddings and they have portraits and they have product photography and then they have random travel stuff. And then they, it's just all this random stuff that you can kind of click through and look at their portfolio. But what that looks like to an agency or even a company is you don't specialize in anything. everything because you're just doing everything. You're like a jack of all trades, master of none. So therefore, they would rather hire somebody who is a specialist, and also you can charge a whole lot more if you're a specialist. So I'm not saying don't do all those things, but I'm saying when you reach out and you're sharing your website, make sure your website is optimized for the type of content that you want to produce for that brand. So if you don't want to do weddings, make a separate wedding website or just take it off your website in general. And the reason I say that is because think from the agency's point of view. What is their goal? Well, they probably just either signed a client or they have a client on retainer that has a very specific campaign and goals for that campaign. Now, most agencies don't have in-house creative teams. Some of them do, but most of them don't. So they actually have to hire out freelancers, meaning they have to find somebody who is a perfect fit for their client campaign so that they can get the best results for their client. So not only are they looking at someone who's experienced and qualified to do the job, but they also want to make sure that the budget is in check, that they can actually make money off of it. And lastly, that you're just a decent human being to work with, because you'd be shocked how many people actually turn into jerks on set, and just don't be that guy, obviously. So now that we know who we need to talk to and kind of how the game works, the next question is, how do you actually position yourself well? So once you get on the radar of the brand, they probably don't have a specific project that they want you to work on right away. It might be a long game. It might be something where you have to wait a few weeks or even a few months. So that's just a conversation and a relationship that you have to build over time. So how agencies work is they have a list or a roster of talent that specializes in certain skill sets and also certain types of work. So like, for example, say they have a client that specializes in extreme outdoor adventure content or whatever it might be. Well, they'll look at their roster and see who they have on the roster that can do action sports or extreme adventure, and those are the people they're going to reach out to. So you got to make sure that you optimize your portfolio and just position yourself as the person that can take on those types of projects. So then the next question becomes, well, how do you get on this list? Because it's one thing to just reach out, but it's a whole nother to actually be added to a list of preferred vendors, or at least people who the agency will potentially reach out to. And this is when you have to get creative. And yes, it's a lot of work, but honestly, if you're trying to get paid at least $10,000 for a project, you can't expect to just send a canned email and hope that you get the job. Like, you actually have to put in work on this. So let me show you. So here's what we're going to do. You're going to find the clients that this agency serves, and you're going to find specific pain points that these clients are experiencing, right? Maybe their content could be improved in a certain way. Maybe you think you can optimize conversions by doing a different type of campaign. Maybe you even pitch an entirely new campaign to them that the agency could then pitch to the client, right? It's just thinking of ideas that you can help serve the agency so that they can get better results for their client. Remember, you have to approach this from the agency's point of view. So really what we want to do is align our goal, which is to get hired, with the agency's goal, which is to continue to be hired, but also to get amazing results for their client. And when you can combine those two, that's when you become dangerous, and that's when you can get on the list. So how do you do this in the real world? Well, you share hyper-relevant case studies. So for example, you worked with a company in the past, they changed out their ad creative with the one that you did, it got a 2x ROAS, awesome. Now they're spending the same amount of money, but they're making twice as much. That's huge. That's something that the agency can leverage and pitch to their client, right? Or for example, you worked with another client and they started posting your stuff organically on social media, and the engagement was, let's say, 50% higher than the page average, okay? That's another thing that's an advantage for you that the agency would want to hire you for, because obviously you know how to create content that converts. So these are all just things to think about in terms of how can you position yourself as somebody that the agency would want to hire. They're not hiring people just because they create stuff that looks good. They're hiring people because they feel like they give them the best opportunity to get the best results for the client, so the agency can stay on retainer and they can continue to get paid. So that's the switch you got to make. So now that you understand what agencies are looking for in order to get on the list, the third and final step is being able to understand how to sell yourself. So like we talked about, if you're reaching out to enough agencies, if you're pitching yourself correctly, if you're positioning yourself correctly, likely you're going to be on quite a few lists. And we talked about how this is a long game. You might wait a few weeks, maybe even a few months to get a call from the client. But once you do, you have to understand how to sell yourself, because this is what they typically do. They'll have a project come in and they'll want to have between 3 to 10 production companies, creators, photographers, whatever it is, bid on this project, meaning that you're competing against 3 to 10 other people, maybe even more, to get this single project, which means you got to stand out. And not just being the cheapest guy, you actually have to be the best overall option just on all facets. And in fact, if you're just trying to be the cheapest, a lot of times that actually works against you, because they see that you're significantly price cutting everyone else, assume you don't really know what you're doing, that you're inexperienced, that you're new, that they're going to have to ask you for a million revisions, that you can't get results. So it actually is better and more beneficial for you to charge more, or at least higher than average compared to the other bids coming in, just so that you keep that perceived value high. So if we're not price cutting, how do we become the best overall option? Well, remember, our goal is what the agency's goals. So what is their goal? Well, if you don't know, you have to ask them. So they send that email, either give them a call or email them back and just say, hey, this sounds like an amazing project. I just want to clarify, what is the client's client's goal with this project so I can optimize my bid for that. So once you know what either the client's goal is or the agency's goal is, then you can take a half day, a day, maybe even 2 days and shoot a mock spec project that is similar to what you would have produced for this client. So let's say it's a drink company, right? You go out and you shoot content that's similar to what you would have produced for this client so that they can have an idea for the type of work that you are capable of and can actually produce for them. Then once you have the demo content, you're going to put that demo content into a proposal where you have obviously the mock content, but you'll also have a case study specifically designed to whatever the agency's end goal is or what the client's end goal is, as well as your pricing. So I know that sounds like a lot of work, but hear me out. So imagine you as the agency, okay, sending out this bid, you got 10 bids coming in. One of them you see is what we just said, where it's super hyper personalized proposal. This is what I'm going to do for you. This is the mood board. This is what it looks like. This is how much it costs. These are case studies of results of what I've done in the past that's similar, that has actually worked. Okay, so imagine you get that as an agency versus the vast majority of what people are going to do is either reply with an email, hey, this is how much I charge for it, send a generic PDF rate sheet, or maybe they'll send a rate sheet with a portfolio, right? Think of the difference between somebody who puts in that amount of work that I just explained versus somebody who just sends off a generic rate sheet. I mean, from an agency point of view, who do you think is going to get you results, or who do you believe is going to be able to get you the results? Probably the guy who spends the effort to be able to make a proposal that is actually custom tailored to you, right? And I know I'm probably going to get haters and people saying, well, don't do free work, you should get paid for everything. But listen, if you want to play at this level, this is the way you have to play the game. If you're trying to land a deal for 20 grand, you can't just throw out rate sheets and hope it works, right? That's what everyone else is doing, and that's why no one else has work. The people that get the work are the ones that are either highly referred, or if you don't have a name yet in the industry, which I'm assuming you probably don't if you're watching this video, you have to stand out in another way, showing that you have the best opportunity to get the desired result for the client. So just as an example, I sent this proposal and it took me a few hours to put together. I mean, I have a custom mood board, custom styling, locations, like all kinds of different stuff. So it took me some time to build, but once I sent it to the client, it was like a no-brainer for him, and I ended up closing this deal for close to $40,000. So you tell me, is spending a few hours on it worth it for $40,000? I think so. And that's ultimately the secret to landing those $10,000 plus projects, okay? You got to know who you're talking to. Talk to the right people. Number two, you got to know how to position yourself to get on their list. And number three, you have to know how to sell yourself and set yourself apart from the competition so everyone else just looks like a bunch of bozos compared to you in terms of being able to get results for the client. So I know this is a lot of information, but we just scratched the surface of what is possible with this, right? You have to know how to find the agencies, how to find the contact, how to reach out to them, how to position yourself on the emails, how to make introductions, how to do sales calls, how to do proposals. There's all kinds of stuff that you need to know in order to make this thing actually work for you. I actually have a lot of videos about it on the YouTube channel, so if you're not subscribed, you definitely want to subscribe to the channel because there's tons of valuable stuff on there. But if you're the type of person like me that's just like, I'm tired of piecing all this stuff together, I just need a step-by-step program that shows me how to do it, and I want personalized one-on-one support that can show me the ropes, then go ahead and check the link in the description below. Book in a time with a member of my team and he'll chat through my specific process and my one-on-one mentorship to show you exactly how to build and scale your business so you can work with your dream clients that have your dream budgets, so you can have time and financial freedom. And ultimately, that's what I got into this industry for, and I'm sure that's what you got in the industry for as well. So if that sounds interesting, got the link in the description below to book in that call, and we cannot wait to chat with you. But other than that, I hope you enjoyed the video. If so, give it a massive thumbs up, a massive like, share it with your friends that you think this would be helpful for, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.